All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be another entry into the Toxic Femininity series, and it will be featuring Miss Claressa Shields. For those of you who don't know who she is arguably the #1 female boxer on the planet Earth. In my view, she is, without a shadow of a doubt. And sometimes, especially with people who are on the uptick or the upswing, they get a little bit ahead of themselves. And in the process of them getting ahead of themselves, that quote-unquote arrogance comes out. And I'm not someone who likes to use that word arrogance too much, because I think that many insecure people allege that someone is arrogant when they're really just confident. But in the case of Claressa Shields, the way that you know that she is approaching the tipping point of confidence to arrogance is that now she is starting to expose her delusion. She has decided to state that she believes that she can beat most of the top male boxers on the planet Earth. Those of us with common sense and a functioning brain know that that is not the case, but that's okay, because this is going to provide a backdrop for us to examine a lot of the subconscious thoughts of many of these modern liberal females, where those thoughts come from, and how they affect so-called black men, especially on an everyday basis, who are not aware of how and why these females think what they think. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Welcome to TFG Sports. Evan here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, Evan?
This is truly amazing. The greatest female boxer alive on the planet, Claressa Shields. You probably saw her this weekend beating up Christina Hammer.
I would say that she's the best female boxer alive. I would not say that she's the greatest female boxer alive. I think that when we use that term greatest, that normally means that someone is near the end of their career and that they've accomplished so much. As of right now, Claressa Shields is 9-0. Which really is more of a reflection of the dearth of female boxing talent, especially at her weight class, than it does, any type of great resume on her part. She is a 2-time gold medalist in the Olympics for female boxing. She is 9-0 in the professional sphere, but to call her the greatest, even if we're talking about today, I just don't like using that term greatest today. You could say the best today, because as of right now, she's at the pinnacle, or she's at the top of the mountain. But there are very few real competitors for her, which I suspect is why she's trying to quote-unquote challenge men.
Predominantly.
Right, it was a great
I
fight.
watched this fight. This chick, Christina Hammer, she had no answer for basic offensive attacks. Her answer was to try to clutch and hold on for dear life. When you watch Claressa Shields fight, you can tell that she's someone who loves blood. She's out for blood. And that makes her very defensively irresponsible. See right here, she's squaring up with her shoulders. If Christina Hammer were better defensively and were not so scared, she could have countered her, gone to the body or caught her right there in the jaw. Her chin is exposed, Claressa Shields. But she's so hungry to hurt people, which is a good thing as long as your opponent is scared of you. But when your opponent is not scared of you and is also defensively skilled, they're going to be able to sucker you into certain traps. That's why Claressa got knocked down in one of her previous fights. Her next goal should be to go to the dentist. That's what her next goal needs to be, because that top grill looks like 5 miles of bad road. I mean, damn. That shit looks like a picket fence that has not been repaired in a very long time. Now, brothers, you hear that? According to this reporter, Claressa Shields has stated that she wants to fight Triple G and Keith Thurman. Now, any of us who saw Keith Thurman's last performance, we know that he did not look anywhere near as good as he's looked in the past. But for her to call out Keith Thurman, that shows a massive lack of respect and delusion. The only question is, does she really believe what she's saying? Or is she saying it for publicity for herself, because right now she wants to achieve or gain greater notoriety for the female boxing world?
Boxers, and she's not joking around. Now, before we get into her soundbite, because she...
No, she's joking around. It's just a matter of whether or not it was willing or unwillingly, or intentionally or unintentionally. But it is a fucking joke.
She's going to lay this out for herself. I want to describe Claressa Shields to you. She was a 2-time gold medalist. She's one of only 6 boxers in history, male or female, to hold all 4 major world titles: WBA, WBF, IBF, and WBO. And this we start.
Christina Hammer felt the power early, and she decides to go into survival mode, which tells me that she's not an elite level champion. Elite level champions, they feel power, and then they go to plan B. They try to figure out how to nullify that power. What great fighters really do when they feel their opponent has great power is they come forward to try to nullify that power puncher and get them to box off the back foot to try to lessen the impact of the punches. That's what elite level champions do. Or they slip and move, or catch and shoot, or what have you. But if you're someone who wants to maintain your belt, you can't just go into survival mode. You know how many fights I've seen of Floyd Mayweather against high-level power punchers, and he was able to adapt or just persevere when it was very obvious that he was getting hurt, especially to the body, but he sucked it up? Christina Hammer showed none of that.
starter. So we spoke with Claressa this morning, and we said, look, you've got a problem that you've beat the best of the best. What's next for you? How can you possibly, like, hype a super fight when there isn't really a lot of women that are of your caliber lining up to fight? And this is what she said. It's pretty amazing.
It's really an admission. It's really an admission that females probably should not be fighting. If they're unable to come up with enough competition to even make the sport survive and create super fight after super fight for this person right here, that's really a sign that the sport should not exist, because there's not enough of a supply to meet a demand that does not even exist itself. So that's really the problem with female sports. Number one, there are not enough participants. Number two, there's not enough demand.
Do you think there are professional men out there that you could beat in a boxing match?
Absolutely.
Really?
You could tell she really believes that shit too. The interviewer asked her if there are men that she believed that she could beat, and she says absolutely.
Really?
I'm a two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion. I think people
Yes, against women.
get it kind of. They always say, "Oh, you know, one man can't beat a man." I spar with men, and I mean, I drop men, I bust men nose.
I don't doubt that at all whatsoever. I will question what the weight of those men is. Number two, I would also question exactly how hard they were allowed to go at you. Floyd Mayweather and other great fighters who fought at welterweight may have sparred against 168 or 175 pound fighters, but they're not going to get into the ring in a real fight against those fighters, because when you sparring is different from the real thing. You're trying to work on your weaknesses. You're not in there to go to war. So I very much doubt that if you did get into the ring with male fighters who actually could fight, that they were throwing haymakers or trying to knock you out, because that's not really the job of a sparring partner. Their job is to prep you for what you're going to face in the fight. Now, Christina Hammer, I believe, is around 5'10", 5'11", maybe even 6 feet. So if Claressa Shields was in the ring against a male fighter, his job was probably to crowd her, to hold her, clinch, and she could work on getting out of the clinch, maybe practice working on the inside against a taller fighter, things of that nature. But I seriously doubt that she's ever been in the ring, even in a sparring match, against a real male fighter who was trying to knock her out. I promise you that has never been the case. Because her management team, if they allow that, they'll be doing a bad job.
Oh, I beat men up all the time.
She says she beats men up all the time. If you're her boyfriend and she shouted out her boyfriend after the fight, and this is something that I harp on with many of you brothers, especially in your prospective relationships, you have to get to know these females, man. Is the woman that is in your life, is she there to compliment you, or is she there to compete with you? You have to ask yourself that question. And it might take a very long time to get the answer, because many of these females are very adept at holding in the lesser aspects of their character or lack thereof. Okay? It takes a while to get to know someone. Hell, it takes a while for you to get to know who you are as a person, much less somebody else. But as the person that you're quote unquote dating and laying in bed with and trying to make plans with for the future, are they really there to compliment you, meaning pick you up when you're down, assist you in some of your shortcomings after you've been trying to assist yourself in your shortcomings? Because a good person is going to help you when they see that you're trying to help yourself, things of that nature. Or are they there trying to one up you all the time, trying to tear you down, trying to act as a force of malevolence as opposed to benevolence? These are things that we have to scrutinize, man. Because I promise you, if this female is concentrating on beating up men, if she's with a person who's her boyfriend, either he has to be extremely insecure or extremely secure. Because I promise you that throughout their quote unquote relationship, he has to deal with constant jibes from her about how she could probably whoop his ass, things of that nature. And is it worth it? Is it worth you being with someone who's constantly trying to figure out if they could whoop you in a fight? That's going to create a lot of unnecessary and undue tension in your quote unquote relationship. But just getting back to the point, the person that you're with has to be there as a positive force, not someone who's extremely insecure about what they bring to the table physically. She's more concerned about what she can do against a man as opposed to what she can do for her man.
It's weird, like, if I was to say, like, which is the guy I think I could beat up, I think I could beat up Keith Thurman.
Really?
I really do.
That's so disrespectful. If I'm Keith Thurman, I'm calling her management team and I'm saying, you know what? Meet me in Florida, in Clearwater, or wherever the hell Keith Thurman is from, down there, the Tampa area. And I'm telling her management team, tell her to bring her sparring gear. We're not going to have a real fight. We're just going to spar for 3 to 5 rounds. And I'm going to let her taste the power. and then we could figure out if this is something that she really wants to do. Because there's no way in the world that you should be getting on TV calling out other fighters, even if you're not serious, claiming that you could do things to them if you don't mean to do it. Many men have made this statement in the past, and it's very famous. You should never say things that are outside of your capability to do. Never ever do that. It's a disrespect to yourself, and it's a disrespect to the person that you're speaking about, that you know damn well you can't do what you claim you could do to them. So for her to call out Keith Thurman, who was a multiple belt champion in the welterweight division, as of right now he only has one belt, for her to do that, extremely disrespectful.
Dude, I think I could beat up Keith Thurman, even though, you're like, oh, he beat Sean Porter. I think I could beat Sean Porter too.
And right now, Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, they've heard this interview. They're probably laughing. But I'm a firm believer that in order for people to avert a lot of this sentiment, especially with these delusional females grabbing onto the Me Too movement, you don't have to get disrespectful with them. Just give them what they want. They're like children. When a child says that they can do something, sometimes a parent who knows that they can't do it, they'll put them to the test just so that the child understands that they really can't do what they're talking about. And therefore, know your place, know your role. Your role is essential. We love you. You're beautiful, but you're out of your fucking mind. We're not going to tolerate that, because the more you tolerate it, it's like a disease that you ignore. It's going to get worse and worse. For her to think that she could beat Sean Porter, a person who's probably twice as strong as her, at the very least. Keith Thurman also probably twice as strong as her. Don't let the last performance fool you. He was taking flush shots from a grown man who probably was on something. Who the hell knows when it comes to the Robert Garcia team, or had gloves that had a little bit of extra in them, meaning having some cushion taken out, because that's what the Garcias tend to do, allegedly. Either way, Keith Thurman took flush shots from that guy. Does she think that she could hurt Keith Thurman? Does she believe that she could take Keith Thurman's power? Really? Come on.
Skill-wise and just strength-wise, I think that they may be stronger than me, but they're boxing.
You think that they may be stronger than you? I have news for you. They're at least twice as strong as you, and they're both far more skilled than you. And Sean Porter is not known for having a high skill set in boxing. I've seen Claressa Shields fight. She is not a particularly highly skilled fighter. She has a decent amount of skills because of her amateur pedigree. But like I've stated, she is someone who is always hungry for the knockout. She's going to get into the ring. If she were to get into the ring with a real man who could fight, she's going to be scared out of her mind. She's going to panic, and she's going to make a lot of mistakes. And within the first 2 rounds, she's going to get knocked out flat in a real fight that would never happen. Because too many of these dudes, they allow people like this to make these disrespectful statements. And like I've stated, if you're Keith Thurman or Sean Porter, just call her management team and let her know she can come down to wherever they're at, and we can have a 3-round sparring match. And nobody has to know. Nobody has to know. We can keep it on the down low, like R. Kelly says. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get on TV and just start spewing these names out of your mouth, talking about who you could beat.
Boxing abilities isn't like mine.
You mean leading with your chin?
Triple G, he's older now, but I can give Triple G a run for his money.
Triple G was trading your teeth out.
I give him a run for his money.
Yes.
No, you would give him a run. That's about it. As in run away, run out the ring.
Yeah, so I asked her, by the way, because she's saying that she's not joking, because I asked her a bunch of times about...
No, she's not joking. I agree with you, but she is a joke.
About that. I said, look, they have power and strength that, do you think that you could be able to compete with that? Right. And she told me very matter of factly, she's like, it's not about power.
Whenever people know that they're going to have the power disadvantage, they say that it's not about power. There's nothing against Claressa Shields, but she's nowhere near skilled enough to defeat a fighter who has far more power than her. When she walked into the ring against Christina Hammer, she knew that she had more power than Christina Hammer. Once again, she is not a highly skilled fighter. Anybody who has seen her fight knows that she is not highly skilled. She's highly decorated, and she has a great amount of ring experience. But she's nowhere near skilled enough to get into the ring against either one of those fighters and even really be able to land a glove on them. And I promise you, she's not going to be able to take their power. So it's a big joke. Now, when you're talking about a Mayweather, a fighter who has an ethereal level of skill and talent, when he says that it's not about power, it's because he knows that he has all the wrinkles, he has all of the idiosyncrasies, he has all of the intangibles. So he can nullify the power, and even when he gets caught, he has the true grit and the toughness and the conditioning to survive hard body shots or shots to the jaw from a Shane Mosley, from a Marcos Maidana, from a Canelo Alvarez. So that's why he says those type of things. Claressa Shields got knocked down in her previous fight. Like, come on.
She's like, boxing is about the sweet science. It's being able to trade punches, be smart with your punches.
Well, I have news for you. She's not going to be able to trade punches with Keith Thurman or Sean Porter. And this is why, and this is according to Claressa Shields. She stated that she challenged Errol Spence to a sparring match. This was years ago. And she said she got into the ring with Errol Spence. And she said the level of power that he hit her with was pretty much incomprehensible. She tried to pull his guard down, and she said he was so strong that she could not even move his lead hand. So I think that somewhere in her subconscious, she knows that she's just talking shit. But she's feeling herself because she knows that she does not have enough female competition for her to maintain this trend that she's on. And to a degree, I respect her hustle. She's trying to get her name out there. But there's no need for you to disrespect male fighters that you know damn well you're never going to be allowed to fight.
Being able to stick and move and all that stuff. And she's like, I can do that. I've been doing that, and I can do that with the men just as dominantly as I've been doing it with the women.
No, you can't. And you know you can't.
She's the best. She's the best that there is. Best on the planet. But maybe she could beat a low-level...
And no disrespect. And certain people might not like me saying this. But ugly chicks, they always got to try to get attention some type of way. They always have to make some type of inflammatory comment or disrespectful comment about someone. I promise you, if she was someone who looked like a Layla Ali, I don't remember ever trying to call out male fighters. I think that she knew better. But she also had the face. So she knew that she had other ways to advertise herself other than bluster.
Level male fighter, I honestly don't believe if you put her in there with Triple G, there are differences, I think, between the female and male body as far as bone density and stuff. And
I know, but you're...
Well, look, you're using logic and sense. Those are things that don't really resonate with most modern day post-Me Too movement females. Okay, so that's why I say let her get in the ring and spar with many of these guys, and then she could find out firsthand.
You're saying that based on preconceived notions.
No, he's saying that based on facts. This dude is like one of the #1 simps on television. He said dude is saying that based on preconceived notions. No, actually he's saying it based on facts.
She's making her statements based on her experience in the ring.
No, she's making her statements based on her being an attention monger, desperate for relevance. That's why she's saying what she's saying. Someone who's trying to maintain and perpetuate a fallacious gender war. That's why I tell brothers, do not subscribe to the gender war. We have to examine many of the components of why there is a gender war, especially between the so-called black man and black woman. But don't engage in it. It's a waste of your time and it's beneath you. That's all it is. It's a waste of your time and it's beneath you. Any female who's intent on trying to push or propagate the gender war, you already know that she has a series of mental issues. She's extremely insecure and probably has more baggage than Delta Airlines.
With male fighters.
So I get that, but has she sparred with Triple G, Keith Thurman? We're talking champions.
She hasn't sparred with Triple G, but she's sparred with real professional male fighters.
Right, and if you put...
She should name some. And then you guys should pursue an interview with those fighters to see if what she's claiming about her interactions with them in the ring are true. That she has busted their nose and that she's dropped them in sparring. I mean, real name guys. I'm not talking about dudes off the street who just come into the ring to help her because they used to fight in the Golden Gloves 10 years earlier and she needs somebody who's 180 pounds to try to mimic someone else. I'm talking about real name fighters with actual pedigree in the boxing ring.
You put those guys in front of Triple G, he'll probably knock their heads off.
Look, she wants to continue to beat up women professionally, right? She wants to fight the best women out there. Her goal is ultimately to raise the profile of female boxing.
Of course, that's why she's talking this shit.
She wants to be the greatest female boxer of all time. I have no doubt in my mind.
According to her, she's already the greatest female boxer of all time. That's what she's claiming.
She's on her way to that. An athletic commission would probably never make a fight, and I don't think a male would take a fight. But
well, look, I mean, she also wants...
No, a male will not take a fight because he has nothing to gain from it. That's why I call a lot of this trolling so disrespectful. It's wantonly disrespectful for a woman to get on TV and claim that she could beat up a male fighter knowing damn well that the fight is never going to happen. It's extremely disrespectful, but it's something that is more and more commonplace in this society today for females to try to troll men because they know that there are conventions set up to protect them should that male try to strike back, even verbally, just verbally. If a Keith Thurman were to say, I would knock that bitch out, there'd be all types of protests probably against many of his subsequent fights. So he knows that he has to fall back and swallow it. And they should not have to do that.
Wants to get paid. She told me, she's like, one of the priorities is not just to be the greatest female fighter of all time. She wants to make $1 million. She wants to get rich fighting, and she's not there yet. And one of the ways to do that is to put on.
This chick leads with her chin. I'm telling you. If there were ever another female boxer who was not scared of her and actually knew how to fight, they would make her pay, because she's so thirsty for blood and for the knockout. She's extremely defensively irresponsible.
Put on a spectacle fight. If she does a 3-round exhibition like Floyd Mayweather did with the guy in Japan.
In Japan, they would do that fight. We've seen guys and girls fight in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan, they don't give a shit. In Japan, they'd be like, men, women, fight.
It would be something people would watch, and she is such a talented fighter.
Imagine a male boxer losing to a female boxer in Japan. That man probably have to stab himself in the stomach with a katana blade. I cannot take the dishonor. Goodbye.
Fighter, I wouldn't put anything past her. That's how good she is.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And you know what? If she wants to make that happen, I feel like she'll find a way to do it. But like I said, her first priority.
It's easy to make those type of things happen. She can call up Keith Thurman's team and they can have a nice little sparring match, 3-4 rounds. And he can, not go 100%. But give her about 75% power, just to let her understand. And if she gets dropped, you just tell her, now keep my name out your mouth.
Is to fight the best women that she can fight. She's not going out there looking to fight a man. She's just.
Yes, she is. She said that she could beat men.
Just saying, if the opportunity presents itself, she'll do it, and I believe it.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. I just think that a story like this is a microcosm of many of the unnecessary difficulties that males who don't understand some of the sentiments and the agendas that are being pushed on the masses at large. I mean, this is a microcosm of those issues for a person to get on TV and just make unnecessary and irrelevant statements about fighting someone or engaging in combat with someone of another gender when you know that that's never going to happen. All you're doing is you're disrespecting someone and their craft. And it's not relevant. It's like if LeBron James or Kevin Durant were to get on TV and say, you know what, those WNBA teams, we would scrape them. They would not even do that because it's below their dignity to do that. They give respect unto the females on the WNBA side and their skill level for what they do. They leave them alone. So to try to jump over that barrier is just a sign of a lot of jealousy and envy. And as I always state, the female is galvanized by two main emotions, that being boredom and jealousy. Are there exceptions to that rule? Absolutely. There are many good females out here as well. But in general, the two main emotions that galvanize the female are boredom and jealousy. So peace.